Hello, my name is Alan Gross, and I am from the Northern Ute and Hopi tribes. I'm also a beadwork and quill work artist, and I put this lesson together that talks about lessons that I've learned from Native American art. In it, you will see pieces of art that I have created, and I would like to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned as I've learned how to create these pieces um, and what they mean to me. Native American art's pretty unique in the fact that it is more than just aesthetically pleasing. For many of the pieces, there is a learning process in how to make them and what they're used for. And as we use them in our culture, there is learning that happens along the way. Um, so I this lesson together with three intents. One is that you can see how we honor knowledge through our art. We honor where these ideas come from and what they mean and who brought them to us. Two is this idea of sliver beads, that everything has a place. And then three is the idea of points and barbs, that an idea that not everything is really cut out to what it seems like it'll be. And at the end of this lesson, you'll have an assignment where you will make a loom beadwork pattern from some of these ideas that you learn or explore of your own. There will also be some audio descriptions of art pieces along the way. So if you look for the link to click on, the audio descriptions that describe some of the pieces that you see. So I'm excited for you to go through this process that I have learned. Thank you. The piece you see here on the top of this slide is one of the first pieces that I made. It is made out of glass seed beads, and it is made on a beading loom. The process for using a beading loom is relatively simple, and it is the way that I started. The piece you see on the bottom is an example of the pieces that I am making now. It is made out of glass seed beads, but in addition to that, it's made out of porcupine quills. The craftsmanship is much more intricate and detailed on this second piece. Over time, I definitely, as an artist, have had my effect on my materials, but also as I've learned and grown in what I've been doing, the materials have had an effect on me. The way that I approach art has changed, and the way that art affects my life, or the lessons that I've learned from art that affect my life, have changed as well. My knowledge of what the symbols mean and what the patterns mean and what the colors mean have changed over time. And also, this knowledge has changed the way that I live my life in other ways as well. So, this idea that change is reciprocal, that not only we have an effect on the materials, but the materials have an effect on us, is really important in Indigenous art. These pieces that you see here are loom bracelets that were made for my family when we took my oldest child down to the Hopi reservation for a naming and a blessing ceremony. Typically, Hopi children, after they're born, are
kept home for 30 days or so and cared for by their mother and their family, and they develop a relationship. And after 30 days, they take this child out into their village, and at sunrise, they have a ceremony where they introduce this baby to the sun. And all the Hopi aunties gather around and give this child a name and give it advice, and they put their imprint on it. And as the child grows older, one of these names stick. We took our oldest son down there to the Hopi reservation and had this ceremony done for him. And as a thank you, I created these bracelets for them. This was a ceremony that I could not do for him myself. It was something that is their role and their responsibility as his auntie and grandmas to do this ceremony. So the art was created as a way to foster this relationship with them.
In Native American culture, feathers are very meaningful, especially eagle feathers. They are a symbol of your relationship with the Creator. They are earned when people go through experiences in their life that changes their relationship with the Creator. They are a symbol or a marker of those changes, and they also come with a responsibility that you have to your community after you've earned those feathers. For that reason, Native Americans take the wearing of eagle feathers seriously. And for many Native Americans, it's hard to see people dress up at Halloween or football games and wear eagle feathers as part of their dressing up, because for us, it means something so much more than just a visual. It's not a costume. It's part of something that you have earned, and it's really a marker of those experiences that define who you are. If you can imagine experiences that define who you are, and other people using those images, those reminders of those things for their own purposes, maybe you can understand how that might be hard for them. So when you see eagle feathers worn in Native American culture and customs, understand it's not just aesthetics, it's not for fashion, that they are meaningful. Each feather has meaning to whoever is wearing it, and they've come at a particular time in life or after impactful experiences, and that's why they are wearing them. This is a bracelet that I made for my younger sister. On the image on the bracelet is a butterfly, and it is in the wings of the butterfly. It has an image that represents swirling winds. My sister is the type of person that can exist socially in any situation. She's kind of like a butterfly, and she floats around from one group to the next. And even if the people are different from her, that she has the ability to interact with them and to make their life better. And that's why I chose this image. The bottom picture, you can see a spot where there is a bead that's smaller and skinnier than the rest of the beads. We call these sliver beads. And when I first started beading, I would throw these beads away, and I didn't think there was use for them. But someone taught me that instead of throwing them away, that I should save them. And so as I bead, I have a little pile of these sliver beads on the corner of my beading mat. And inevitably there comes a time when I need to use one of those beads. One sign of good beadwork is that it lays flat, and if you try and put a bead that's too big for the spot, it makes all the other beads pop up, and then your beadwork is not flat anymore. Well, these sliver beads fit exactly in there without forcing all the other beads to pop up. And that is the example. That's one of the examples that I've learned from beadwork, is that every bead has its purpose. And even though it may not be clear right at the start, as people go through life and as you go through your experiences, you eventually find that spot where that bead fits perfectly. Here are some beadwork pieces that I've made. They're made using a technique called two needle applique. Each piece uses hundreds to thousands of beads before the piece is completed. Each bead is tacked down individually, and it takes hours upon hours to finish a piece. You can see that each bead has a purpose that they add to the aesthetic. And when you get a hank of beads and you look at, the 100 or 200 of the same color and size of beads, you may not know or realize the impact that one bead can have. But as you put them together into a piece, you can see that each bead has a place. Each bead has a purpose, in order to be able to create this dynamic pattern. In the more recent part of my artistic career, I've started working with porcupine quills. We all know that porcupine quills are sharp. They are 5 times as sharp as a hypodermic needle, meaning that it takes 5 times less pressure to penetrate a porcupine quill than a hypodermic needle. What most people don't know is that the hard part of porcupine quills is pulling them out, not pushing them in. And if you look at the magnified picture, you can see it has some little barbs or shingles on it that as someone tries to pull it out, they catch on the skin. And I did not know this when I first started working with porcupine quills, and I was very careful not to get poked. And I was really surprised at the amount of pressure it takes to pull a porcupine quill out, and how much more painful it is to pull it out after it gets stuck in than it actually is when somebody gets it stuck into them. This was important because for me, it was an important lesson to learn for me, because it reminded me that there are many things in life that are easy to get into, but they're hard to get out of. There are so many things that as we look at them in life, it seems tempting, and we feel like it's not a big deal once we start down that path. But once we get in there, that we realize it's so much more difficult to get out. And that's something that working with porcupine quills has really taught me.
What you see on this slide are all pieces that I have made using porcupine quills, a variety of different pieces, bracelets, earrings, medicine pouch. But the one I wanted to explain is in the top left corner. It's the black, red, yellow, and white piece. It's a medallion meant to be worn on a necklace. And if you look in it has 3 rings. And if you look in the center ring, it's some solid colors of black, red, yellow, and white. And that middle ring is fashioned after what we call a medicine wheel. And medicine wheel is found in many different tribes, and it has similar meaning in most all of them. Medicine wheel, these colors, black, red, yellow, white, in a circle, it really represents the idea that in life,
everything is connected. It means a lot of different things. It is symbolic of the seasons, summer, winter, spring, and fall. Symbolic of the directions, north, east, south, and west. Symbolic of the elements, earth, wind, water, fire. But the biggest idea is that, all of these things are connected, that when you affect one area of life, it affects another area, kind of like waves or ripples in a pond. For me, this piece is really significant. This is one of the few pieces I have that I made for myself. And the reason I made it for myself is because I teach high school health. I talk to high school students who are just starting their journey into adult life. And one of the things I really like to share with them is this idea that their decisions in one area of their life are going to affect another area of their life. If they have physical ailments, it's going to affect their mental health and their social health and their spirituality. If they have mental health issues, that's going to affect their social life. If they make decisions in their social life, that's going to have an effect on the other areas of their life as well. And from a health standpoint, this idea of being healthy in all your areas, or striving to be healthy in all your areas, is really the most impactful way to approach it. So for me professionally, this idea of the medicine wheel is really significant in my life. On the next slide, it's going to ask you a couple questions to kind of synthesize maybe all of these things that we've been talking about, whether it's, honor knowledge or sliver beads, or this idea of points and barbs, as we talked about with these porcupine quills. So it has a couple questions for you to answer. Maybe where can you find value in things that is beyond face value? What things in your life represent something more than what you see at face value? That's one question it's going to ask you. And then there's another question that maybe hopefully will help you see things from a Native American perspective. Earlier in the presentation, I talked about eagle feathers, and then asked you to really recall maybe some ideas about eagle feathers and why you think those are important from a Native American perspective. So, and I think that's an important part of this lesson, is seeing things from other perspective. Even if it's not important to you, how can you see that it might be important from this other perspective? So that's what's on the next slide.